Hello, once again, Kenny Jacobs from Bloomington, Illinois. I want to do a quick video updating a couple of prophetic events that there are some recent news and updates on. One involves the building of the third temple in Jerusalem, and the other is the ongoing attempt at the peace treaty between Israel and the Palestinians. So let's start real quickly with the biblical overview. Matthew chapter 24 says, "And Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Jesus said to them, See ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there will not be one stone left upon another that shall not be thrown down." And that actually happened about 40 years later in AD 70, when Titus in Rome destroyed the temple. Now the Bible clearly says in the last days that there will be another temple, and that there would be a peace treaty that would be signed that would start the final 7-year period of time. And Daniel chapter 9 verse 27 is a very interesting verse because it actually mentions both the peace agreement and alludes to the temple. And it says, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week," and he is the future Antichrist. "And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate." Well, where the sacrifices are is in the temple. Israel has not had a temple since it was destroyed in 70 AD. And then the Jewish people were scattered throughout the nations. And from that point on, they faced the Crusades, the Inquisition, anti-Semitism even to this day, the Holocaust with Hitler. And through it all, they became a nation in one day on May 14th, 1948, after World War II, which is exactly what the prophet Isaiah prophesied in chapter 66, that Israel would become a nation in one day. Ezekiel prophesied the rebirth of Israel in chapter 37 when he talks about we had a vision of the valley of dry bones, and the bones coming back together and becoming a nation. Since they've become a nation in 1948, they've been surrounded by enemies on all sides. They've been hated, been constantly attacked. They fought a 6-day war in 1967, another war called the Yom Kippur War in 1973, and have never actually lived really in much peace the entire time that they've been a nation. In all that time, they have not had a temple. So there's been no temple sacrifice either. But verse 27 of chapter 9 says that there will be sacrifice again in the middle of the week, and this week is not a week of days, it's a week of years. It's a 7-year period of time. And then halfway through, 3.5 years into that peace agreement, the Antichrist will break the treaty that he signed. He will enter that temple, and to enter a temple, there has to be a temple there. And he will declare himself to be God. And will put an image of himself in the temple and require all to worship him. That's what the abomination of desolation is all about. And that marks the final 3.5-year period of time of the last 7-year period of time, and the signing of the treaty starts that final 7-year period of time. Well, there's recent developments. John Kerry, last week it was reported, last 2 weeks it was reported that the peace talks are breaking down and not going to happen. And now they're firing right back up again. They are determined to get something done. John Kerry is back over there. He's going to meet tomorrow with the leader of the Palestinians. Tony Blair's gotten involved. Vladimir Putin's gotten involved. And in March, Obama is going to go to the Vatican, speak to Pope Francis, and they're going to be discussing this peace agreement that they're all trying to broker. And although there's many roadblocks and stumbling blocks, mainly Jerusalem is the big issue, progress is being made. Hamas has just come out and said they will actually support the two-state solution, and even up till last week, they would not agree to that. They're also backing down on some of their demands about how to handle the refugees once the two states are determined. Benjamin Netanyahu has been willing to give up a lot of land and has been making concessions as well. So both sides are starting to change their thinking a little bit and are working toward the agreement. On top of that, the Israeli government has been talking about wanting to build the third temple again. When you hear talk about both the peace agreement and the third temple, that is absolutely clear that we are living in the last days. And the third temple is talked about in Revelation chapter 11. And it's very interesting because it says in Revelation 1 and 2, it says, "And there was a rod given me, and the angel said, Rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not. For it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. 42 months is 3.5 years. That correlates to the same 3.5 year period of time that Daniel 9:27 talks about. And when he measures the temple, he's told to leave out the outer court this time. So in other words, this temple, the third temple, is going to be different from the first two temples, because the outer court is going to be given over to the Gentiles, which plays right into the two-state solution that they're working on right now. So no doubt the Dome of the Rock will still be there, the Muslim shrine or temple to Allah, for Muhammad, will still be there. And right next to it will be the new third temple for Jewish worship of God. And they will reinstitute the temple sacrifice. Why is the third temple different? Well, need to be different? Well, because in AD 70, there was no Islam. Islam didn't come about until around AD 700. So now, because of the Muslim faith and what they do with the Dome of the Rock and Muhammad and Jerusalem, and that conflict there, you can see that God has made provision in Revelation 11 that the new temple would be modified due to that conflict. It's just amazing how alive and true the Word of God is, and how everything that's supposed to happen is coming together at a rapid rate. What exciting times to live. But definitely two direct signs showing us that time is short, the return of Jesus is near. The peace agreement and a third temple. And keep in mind that peace agreement will not bring peace. The Bible is clear. It says when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction will come upon them. And there are two wars coming up, the Psalm 83 war and the war of Gog and Magog in Ezekiel 38. There will not really be peace. There will be no peace at all on this earth until Jesus Christ returns at the end of the final 7-year period of time and sets up his reign on earth for 1,000 years. But we're getting close. Time is short. Keep looking up. Make sure you're ready. All the signs are here.